Alright, all you up all-nighters, you insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and drivers, and especially you streetlight crusaders from all around the world, welcome to the 5:32 in the morning edition of the Tuesday Night Special. I am your insomniatic host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best from the North, South, East, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And seeing the fact that we've hit the first street light night of this beautiful spring solstice and the last Tuesday night before we head into a month of fools, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's gonna happen on this very special spring street light delight edition of the Tuesday Night Special. Because we kick things off by finding out what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Glasgow, Scotland, or is it Glasgow, Scotland? According to Carl and Maestro, we might be right with the first one. All right? Next up on the plate, we go into a very special underwater Nicktoon edition of the As Seen on TV. And according to Carl and the Maestro, one of the people featured during this show may have fought a Highlander. Oh, nice. Then we go ahead and check out some video game hits, clips, while scratching that indie itch you've got at home from the world of Cade for another edition of the Cade Triple S Deluxe. Also, besides that, we find out what in the world Dan the Weatherman Stu is gonna do to celebrate the spring solstice, and why in the world is he wearing a hummingbird outfit. And as he tells the weather for the first week of spring for another edition of the Weather Update. And if you're wondering why I sound confused at home, Carl and the Maestro just showed me the picture of the hummingbird outfit. It is insane. But to finally wrap things up for tonight, and hopefully before the spring sun rises, we wrap up this show with yet another edition of the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys two news stories followed up by local concert information from local artists performing in local area live near you. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, stop leaving those daisy petals all over the place. We already did a spring salute for the other shows, cause it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on your street-lit, moonlit Tuesday night. Only here, right here, on the Tuesday Night Special. So let's get this streetlight show started, folks. Alright, all you streetlight crusaders, and I guess a couple of wrestling fans who are still up for tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to talk about what happened during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw from Glasgow, Scotland. Now, I heard it was called Glasgow, Scotland, or was it really Glasgow? Only time I remember it being referred to Glasgow is when Roddy Piper ever came out. But either way you look at it, we'll just go with the one we said before, and hopefully we don't tick off anybody from Scotland, because their flag rules. But besides giving props to a cool flag that we represented in the soccer game many a months ago, Monday Night Raw would kick off with none other than John Cena. And John Cena would make his way to the ring being serenaded by the fans with "John Cena sucks! John Cena sucks!" which was the same way he was serenaded to the ring last week on Monday Night Raw, and would see this week Pat McAfee back at the announce table wearing a kilt that he got from the King of Kilts. Not bad. But But something that would definitely go bad would be John Cena asking the fans, is there something on your mind? And for them to boo him and say Cena sucks, let's go Cena, for Cena to immediately say that he picked apart their brains and could turn any ticket holder into shreds due to the research he's gotten over the past 25 years due to the fact of how they treated him. And would even bring up what happened to that kid he mentioned last week being one of the people who was the problem with the people in the WWE universe. And at the same time would then blame the fans for making that go viral and making that kid a laughingstock. And would then go on further by saying that, yep, he's made every single last one of them a lab rat for the past 25 years of his career and decided to give them a gift, and would even bring up moments in his life that were gifts, including the most controversial of them all, according to some true diehard wrestling fans, about what he did the night after WrestleMania 21, bringing the Spinner Championship to life. Something that JBL would call the Hindenburg of world titles. I'm not kidding, that's what he would literally call that belt. But then would bring up the fact that everybody who would call that championship a toy and a disrespectful thing to do to something that is cherished and is prized in this company. And John Cena would say that that would be the biggest mistake they've ever made, because now he's going to ruin wrestling for everybody by winning the WWE Championship for the 17th time and forcing fans to forget the fun guy of Ric Flair and forever say the name John Cena, because after he wins it, he's gonna take it and retire it and force them to create a toy belt and would be the last real champion of WWE by walking out. And yeah, and would say that nobody's gonna be able to stop him. For Cody Rhodes to immediately come out, for the fans to chant for Cody Rhodes, for John Cena to have a disgusted look on his face. As Cody Rhodes would stare him down in the ring and would realize that this might be the most dangerous version of John Cena to date, but at the same time saying that he made a big mistake saying that he was gonna take away this championship and retire it, saying the fact that you won it 17 times, or should I say 16, didn't win it 17 yet, and you don't know how hard it was to win it at least once, and would say that if you want to take it, why don't you take it right now? Because you're gonna have to beat me to take that championship away from me and these fans. Now, granted, it wasn't the same way he said it, but at the same time, he meant it. For John Cena to immediately walk away, for Cody Rhodes to call him out, and then immediately for John Cena to make his way back to the ring and just walk away. Only for Cody Rhodes to say, yeah, I'm not gonna allow you to do that, and now because of what you said, now you definitely made it difficult for you to walk away with this championship at WrestleMania, and the same way that you're walking out right now is the same way you're gonna walk out at WrestleMania, and the same way you're gonna walk out at the WWE, beltless and just gone. And before we go any further, folks, and something I wanted to point out because it's been bugging the daylights out of me, the fact that John Cena said he's going to beat the record of Ric Flair by getting 17 world titles, you might want to add 7 more to the list, because Ric Flair was a 24-time world champion. They just say 16 because it's obtainable. Now, if it was 24, he would have to stay out of retirement for another couple of years to try to snag those, which I doubt. Now, with that point being made, folks, we now head into our first match of the night, which would see the Usos teaming up against A-Town Down Under. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, the mystery partner of Jey Uso would be his brother, Big Jim. And with the fact that this would be the first time that they would tag together in a year and a half, would see the Usos back in action, and it looked like they didn't miss a step. Because during this match, we would see a super kick to Austin Theory during this match for near fall by Jay. even seeing despite a double elbow to the face pop-up style by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory for a near fall, for the team of the Usos to work in cohesion to deliver not only an alley-oop spear, but the 1D directly to Theory for them to win this match and get a victory via pinfall. But after the match was over and as they were celebrating with the fans of Scotland, we would see Jimmy Uso getting knocked off the top rope, and immediately after getting knocked off the top rope, Jay to come in, try to fight against Gunther, but unfortunately would slip after hitting 2 super kicks and then would get caught by Gunther with a couple of headshots, and immediately to see Jimmy come into the ring to save his brother Jay. Only for later on that night for Jimmy to confront Jay about his recent actions by saying, "You slipping, you're getting inside your own head, and you need to get in the right frame of mind or you're not going to be able to beat Gunther at WrestleMania." And then for Jay to ask him, "Do you think I can beat him at WrestleMania?" No, not this Jay Uso, but the Jay Uso that was the main event Jay Uso, the right-hand man, could beat him at WrestleMania. And after trying to cheer up his brother, he would immediately run into Gunther backstage and would challenge him to a match next week for Gunther to say, "Oh, sure, I'll take you on, as long as you don't slip up like your brother." Now, after saying that, folks, what would be the proper reaction of Jimmy? Well, the proper reaction would be to slap the daylights out of him, and I got a feeling a piece of his skin is probably still in Scotland after that slap, because that was horrifying. And after slapping the taste out of his mouth, we would then see none other than Gunther give a smile after that, and for us to go to a little vignette for El Grande Americano, who apparently was a luchador that was an underground luchador from the Gulf of America, I kid you not when I say this, who decided to come back after being blacklisted by the luchadors. Okay, so now he has a backstory for not only Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee to get pissed off about it, but at the same time for Chad Gable to come out with a valid excuse saying that he's too sick to wrestle and he's got a doctor's note for it. Really? And this comes from a guy who is built for tough and can get things done in the ring and never calls quit or sick or anything. It's gonna call sick tonight. Right. And at the same time, Rey Mysterio would say that, "Oh, yeah, all right, you're sick now, but don't worry, we'll see you in the parking lot." Only for Chad Gable to suggest that he would fight against the Americano guy to see what he's all about. For Dragon Lee to take him up on his offer for later on the night. But wait, according to Carl and the Maestro, why wait? Because the next match to take place, completely out of order I may add, would be Dragon Lee going one-on-one against El Grande Americano. And during this match where luchador action would go back and forth, would not only see a cool Hurricane Rana and a headbutt combination by Americano for a near fall, even pulling off a nasty exploder suplex off the apron. Ouch! Then we would see Americano trying to take the mask off of Dragon Lee, but unfortunately would end up getting punched in the face for it, but coming back during this match with a Northern Lights counter off a springboard for a near fall. Even seeing Dragon Lee going for a victory roll, but unfortunately that victory roll would not lead to a victory, still only a near fall. But ultimately, this match will come to an end despite a nasty stomp out of the corner that nearly took out the knee of one Dragon Lee during this match, with a double foot stomp attempt back inside the ring that would lead to the mask of none other than Dragon Lee being ripped off his face, leading into an ankle lock. Very ironic of that move to be done. For Dragon Lee to have no choice but to tap out or expose his face to the world, for El Grande Americano to win this match via pinfall, or according to Carl and the Maestro, via submission, and they're right. Now, after that victory, we would then see Dragon Lee coming out with the rest of American Made, saying that he apologized for not being able to perform tonight and for him to get booed immediately for it. And would give it up to El Grande Americano for, representing the lucha style, and would say that he's looking to go home back to America, and would say thank you afterwards. Yeah, and El Grande Americano would say gracias. Now, for anybody who don't think this is suspicious and don't think that's Chad Gable, remember Todo Americano back in the old SmackDown vs. Raw games. That was all American. El Grande Americano is the big Americano, so yeah, I got a feeling that is none other than Chad Gable. Seriously, you can't fool me with that. But to get things back on track, folks, the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would be for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, seeing Laya Valkyria going one-on-one against Raquel Rodriguez. And as usual in a Raquel Rodriguez match, we would see the power game in high display, not only seeing her use her like a rag doll and do a headlock spinning neck twist during this match, but would also take the bird out of the skies with a nasty big boot and 2 sets of elbows followed by a Scottish sickle for a near fall. Even doing a rebound suplex slam for a near fall. For Laya to come back during this match with a beautiful birds of prey leg drop to the back of the neck for a near fall. For none other than Raquel to come back with a corkscrew elbow, still for a near fall. But ultimately, this match, I got a feeling, would go from bad to worse, but in favor of Laya Valkyria thanks to Liv Morgan, who would interfere in this match due to a DDT counter off a suplex for Liv to actually put her foot on the ropes of Raquel, that is, for 2 feet to meet her in the face from Laya Valkyria, for her to counter the Tanahana bomb and directly win this match via pinfall. And still your Women's Intercontinental Champion. For Liv Morgan to immediately, while she was celebrating, and something I got a feeling Lyra should have learned by now when it comes to the Judgment Day, they're sore losers, she should have left the ring. And she didn't. And while she was celebrating, Liv Morgan would take her out and immediately try to beat the daylights out of her with the help of Raquel, only for Bayley to come out and help out none other than Laya Valkyria to send her over the ropes and then immediately send Raquel out as well too, for the fans to chant "Bayley, would you beat my girl?" like they usually do in international waters. Starting to like the song too. Then immediately after that, meanwhile, backstage, we would see the New Day saying that they're going to walk out of WrestleMania as the new tag team champions for Adam Pearce to immediately shoot down that idea and would say, oh, maybe if you had said you were going to prove yourself that you can show what you got this week on Raw, I would have probably agreed to that. But since you didn't, don't let the door hit you when the Lord split you. Good night. And after that little meltdown, and if you're wondering what led to that, is what would happen next inside the ring, where Adam Pearce, with the contract in hand, brings up what happened during last week's contract signing and would say that Rhea Ripley is not in the match, even though she signed the contract, that the original contract still stands and it will be Bianca versus Io at WrestleMania for this year. For Io to come out before Adam Pearce could finish his statement, for her to say that she doesn't care who she fights, she'll take them all on because she is the women's champion. For Bianca Belair to come out and air her grievances and say that she earned it by going through the Elimination Chamber and to go to WrestleMania, not Rhea Ripley to headbutter her way into the match. For Rhea to come out before Pearce can finish his statement and say that she doesn't care about WrestleMania or anybody, she's gonna go through anybody to get that belt back, only for Rhea to say, or more or less Bianca Belair to interrupt her and tell her that, oh, you can just wait 3 weeks. Wait 3 weeks until I win the championship and then you'll get your rematch. Only only for a back and forth banter to be interrupted immediately by Adam Pearce saying to Rhea she gets her rematch next week and the winner fights Bianca at WrestleMania. And oh yeah, if you think Bianca's gonna sit on the sidelines, during that meeting with the New Day, we forgot to leave out the fact that Bianca will be the special guest referee for that match. I got a feeling that's gonna go horribly wrong, just like what happened after that announcement of that match, as Io would counter a kiss of death and immediately avoid a riptide and a grand slam or a glam slam, according to Colin the Maestro, and would take out Rhea with a Rana on the outside of the ring, but unfortunately would still meet the kiss of death inside the ring to the outside of the ring on top of Rhea for Bianca Belair to stand tall with a championship that's not even hers yet. With that big dose of chaos that we had to just boil down. And speaking of chaos, the next thing to take place on Monday Night Raw would be none other than CM Punk making his way to the ring, saying that he's jet-lagged and uncertain about his road to WrestleMania, but thanks to the reaction of the fans, he feels a little bit better. But he's supposed to be mad, and remembers the reason why he's mad due to the setbacks that he had to suffer at the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber. And why? Because despite everything changing, everything still remains the same because he works with children. And brings up the fact of the black belt crybaby piss boy Seth Rollins, who's been crying since he's got here due to the fact of the shadow that he overcast over his career, and Roman Reigns, who realizes in real time that his wise man isn't really his wise man. So the match that's gonna take place at WrestleMania, which a triple threat match due to the fact of Seth Rollins coming out in Italy and CM Punk being there, leading to a three-way fight between the three, pointing at the WrestleMania sign, and Triple H, or I do believe the general manager on SmackDown, making it official. Yeah, he says WrestleMania is business. And so is the contract signing that will take place next week on SmackDown. Or this Friday on SmackDown. You know, all these traveling across seas is really starting to mess with my brain. But the thing that's for sure is that CM Punk would say to both of them before they signed that contract that neither of them was able to beat him without the other one's help. And the fact that he brought both of them into this business and he can't wait until WrestleMania to take the both of them out of it. And after that little announcement by CM Punk, the next match to take place on Monday Night Raw would be our main event of the evening, which would be for the Intercontinental Championship, seeing none other than Penta going one-on-one against Braun Breaker. Now, prior to this match, we would see Dominic Mysterio backstage talking to Liv Morgan and worried about Finn Balor and the fact that his decision of trying to get Penta into the Judgment Day, his actions last week, might make Finn mad. And for Liv Morgan to assure him that, yeah, you made the decision to bring me into Judgment Day and Finn's okay with it. So I trust your judgment and good luck tonight in whatever you decide to do. Now, granted, this was before the Intercontinental Championship match that none other than Raquel Rodriguez would have. And yeah, if you think the Judgment Day was having a bad night before, it's just about to get a little bit worse. Because during this match, as action would go back and forth, and Braun Strowman, or Braun Breaker, thank you for the correction, Colin the Maestro, flying through the air with a flying clothesline on the announce table with Penta underneath it, for none other than Carlito and Dominic to show up. But during that, we'd see Braun Breaker pulling off the Steiner push-ups after a count of two, even pulling off a running Tiger knee right directly to the face of Penta for a near fall. An exploder suplex, no dice, a suplex while looking at Dominic and Carlito during a commercial break, still nothing. A backstabber by Penta that got a little smile on the face of Carlito that thought it was cool for near fall. A press slam gut check during this match for near fall. Mexican Destroyer, nothing. Breakensteiner, no dice. But ultimately, this match would come to an end again after that Breakensteiner, because Dominic Mysterio would get up on the apron and Carlito would try to get in to help out Penta, for him to get tossed into the ring and to get hit with that Skull Zone spear from none other than Braun Breaker, for Carlito to watch as Dominic Mysterio chop blocks none other than Braun Breaker, for this match to end in a disqualification in favor of Penta, but at the same time still your Intercontinental Champion, Braun Breaker. What an idiot. And after that little chop block, we would see the Judgment Day trying to beat the daylights out of Braun Breaker, for Braun to try to fight back, and for Backstabbing Finn to come from out of nowhere with a steel chair shot right directly to the spinal cord. And after that shot to the spine, what will we see then? We would see Dominic Mysterio grabbing the chair from Finn Balor in a sign of trust, hitting him in the gut multiple times, Braun Breaker that is, and then trying to hand the chair over to Penta. For Penta to look at Dominic, for him to say a couple of things in Spanish that really didn't sit right with him, for him to give the answer of joining the Judgment Day with a nice super kick in the face with the chair, for Finn Balor to hit none other than Penta in the back of the head, repeatedly stomp him out, and for Braun Breaker to get hit with more steel chair shots, and then for a coup de grace for none other than Penta afterwards, for the Judgment Day to stand tall, but at the same time for Finn to have a real pissed off look on his face, to bring Monday Night Raw to a close for this week. So what's gonna happen next week? Is the Judgment Day really gonna be fine after that little screw up from Dominic Mysterio? Will we see CM Punk getting some form of revenge and getting closer to what he really wants? And what sort of twists and turns are we also gonna see, as we're less than 3 weeks away from one of the biggest WrestleManias to hit Sin City, and probably the first? Well, we'll find out the answer to that and more next week for another exciting edition of Monday Night Raw. But until then, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music and grab a glass of water. And when we return, we'll be back with more of the Streetlight Delight as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't fall asleep just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Alright, all you Insomniatic TV channel surfers out there tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And now it's time for us to go into yet another Nick Madness edition of the As Seen on TV. And the show we have up on the plate for this week is a pineapple straight from under the sea. None other than SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob SquarePants. And we had to say it that many times because I still can't believe that we haven't talked about this show yet. It's insane. And if you think that's insane, folks, the meat and potatoes of this said show features SpongeBob, a simple fry cook who lives under the sea and goes on adventures in his everyday life. And that's the best way to explain the premise of this show. And what did I love about this show, folks? Well, for starters, the fact that the person who actually hired him on and gave him a job was the man behind Rocko's Modern Life, which was one of the things that I really did love about this show, and the fact that he got his start from a cartoon that I really did love as a kid was awesome. Another thing that I loved about this said show would have to be the fact of the cool music that was featured during it that was actually sang by the pirate that was featured during the show as well too. And the fact that it led to not one but several different movies with a lot of star power behind it, including one David Hasselhoff. And speaking of star power, folks, and something I clearly forgot to mention, another thing that I loved about this show would be the people that were involved during it, including none other than the man behind SpongeBob himself, Tom Kenny, or at least the voice, for well over 324 episodes. But he would also be none other than Wheelie and Skids during the movie of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and would also be featured during the movie of Dark of the Moon as Wheelie. And according to Carl and the Maestro, he would also be Eduardo and Mayor of Townsville, as well as the announcer or the narrator, a part of Jellystone. And wait a minute, I thought that voice was familiar. That is the guy who played Eduardo and the Mayor of Townsville during the show of the Powerpuff Girls. Ah, small world, small world. And not to mention was the Doctor featured during the show of Solar Opposites for 10 episodes. Next up on the plate, you would have none other than Roger Bumpus, who would play Squidward, SpongeBob's neighbor, a part of well over 302 episodes and counting, a part of SpongeBob SquarePants, but would also be featured as none other than Phil Hilton, a part of the movie of The Running Man. And back in according to Colin Maestro, 87, thanks for the correction. But would also be featured as none other than Shark, a part of SEAL Team. Not bad. Next up on the plate, the living legend himself, Clancy Brown, who would play Mr. Krabs, a part of 286 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, and of course the owner of the Krusty Krab. And of course would also be none other than Sergeant Zim in the 97 film of Starship Troopers, Captain Hadley, a part of the Shawshank Redemption in 94, Surtur, a part of Thor Ragnarok in 2017, Alan Smith in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 2010 version, and would also be featured as none other than Salvatore Maroni, a part of the Penguin. But most importantly would be none other than Kroll, a part of the film of The Highlander, the first one. And according to many people after the review of the other films, there can only be one. No, apologies, I had to get that joke out of the way because I heard it once, it was funny. And next up, folks, we have none other than Bill Fagerblake, who was a part of SpongeBob SquarePants as Patrick Star, the friend of SpongeBob, for well over 292 episodes, but would also be featured as Jonah's dad, a part of Jennifer's Body, with a very funny line that was mentioned, a part of Dead Meat, and would also be none other than the voice of Cat Quest 3. Not bad. Next up on the plate, you would also have none other than Mr. Lawrence, better known as the villain of the show known as Plankton, and the man in charge of the clam bucket, and someone who's getting his own movie this year, but at the same time was the man who played Filbert Turtle for 42 episodes of Rocko's Modern Life. Interesting, but would also be responsible for playing none other than, and according to Carl and the Maestro, Xenodrome announcer during the short of You're Doing Great. And then you would have none other than D. Bradley Baker, who would play none other than Bubble Bass for 224 episodes a part of this show, but would also be responsible for playing Klaus and others a part of 338 episodes of American Dad, Harry the Platypus a part of Phineas and Ferb for 138 episodes, even featured as Daffy and the Tasmanian Devil a part of the 96 film of Space Jam. And according to Carl and the Maestro, was also Nubs and Doslan number 2, a part of 39 episodes of the Young Jedi Adventures. Not bad, not bad. Next on the plate, you would have none other than Carol Lawrence, or Carolyn Lawrence, according to Carl the Maestro, who would play Sandy Cheeks, a part of 173 episodes of this show, but also would play none other than Cindy Vortex, a part of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and would even be featured as, and according to Carl the Maestro, Hal's sister, a part of one episode of Kung Fu Shock, and would even be a part of the short of Timon and Pumbaa at the movies as her character of Sandy Cheeks. Not bad. Next on the list, you would have none other than Jill Taylor, who would play Karen, a part of this show, but also would play none other than Mrs. Timmerman, a part of the movie of Sky High back in 2005. Little Miss Sunshine, she was in that as well as Cindy in 2006, and also would play the wife in Real 2 as well as the bottle denier in 3 episodes of the TV series of Harley Quinn in this year of 2025. Next up on the plate, you would have none other than Sierra Irwin, who would not only play the Lady Fish and Lady Upturn, a part of 153 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, but would be an additional crew member, a part of 13 episodes of Harley Quinn, and even a part of the Jurassic World Camp for 50 episodes, and a part of the TV series I've never heard of, and Carl and Maestro said you should pick up a remote once in a while, because she was a part of the Croods family tree for 39 episodes. Then you have none other than Mary Jo Catlett, or Catlett? Carl and Michael said go with the second one, because she would be Mrs. Puff, none other than the person who tried to teach SpongeBob how to drive during well over 118 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants, but would also play Rosemary Ackerman, a part of the movie of Serial Mom, as well as playing an old lady in Let's Be Cops and Mrs. Elwood in The Benchwarmers. Then you have none other than Carlos, who would play Nobby, a part of 30 episodes of this show of SpongeBob SquarePants, but would also play none other than Deputy James Garcia, a part of 105 episodes of Reno 911. Mr. Crocker, a part of the Fairly Odd Parents for 139 episodes. El Chupacabra, a part of the Planes movie, and Nestor, a part of Happy Feet. Still can't believe this guy was in Reno 911, but after seeing his face, yeah, it made me laugh a little bit. So yeah, he was in it. Anyway, next up, folks, we would have none other than Lori Allen, who would play Pearl Krabs for 109 episodes, but outside of playing her, she would also play Diane Simmons, a part of Family Guy, as well as playing young Larry Mom Rose in the said show of Curb Your Enthusiasm for 3 episodes, and would play Mom Sadness in the film of Inside Out in 2015. And Carl and the Maestro said we can mention one more person. Okay, well, the last person we're going to mention would be none other than the late, great Ernest Borgnine, who would play none other than Mermaid Man for 15 episodes, a part of the show of SpongeBob SquarePants, but would also be the cabbie, a part of Escape from New York, as well as Marty Piletti, a part of Marty, and also Rago, a part of the Poseidon Adventure in 72, and Sergeant Fatso Judson, a part of From Here to Eternity in 1953. Now, one of my favorite characters a part of this show, besides SpongeBob, would have to be Sandy. And the reason why? Because of one of my favorite episodes of Pre-Hibernation Week that featured the music of Pantera during that said episode, but also probably for the band episode that would get featured during a Super Bowl at one point, which I thought would never happen, but it did. And also featured during a hockey game as well too, which is absolutely hilarious and funny. And another one of my favorite episodes, I think, would have to be the Krusty Krab episode of the Krusty Krab Pizza. Just to name a few, because we'll be here all night trying to name all the episodes that were my favorite. Now, this show, which is still in circulation, and as of this past couple of months, according to Carl and the Maestro, as of this show 2 months ago, would beat the record for the longest running TV program of the kids variety ever. Yeah, it beat out Arthur. Arthur now in second place, thanks to the fact of this show being longer on the air than that show, which blows my mind. And seeing the fact that this show would officially kick off as of May Day of 1999, it would still be on the air as we speak with well over 316 episodes spanned over 15 seasons. And seeing the fact that we don't know how to review shows along the lines of TV Guide or any of those other famous TV reviewers you know of out there, we say this. If you guys want to go ahead and watch a show that features a lovable sponge getting in crazy adventures underwater and even at rock bottom sometimes with his friend Patrick, his neighbor, none other than Squidward with the funniest laugh known to man, and a boss that may have tried to take on a Highlander or two, then I recommend you go out there, pick up your TV channel remotes, and watch that show. Because this show is well over 25 years as of last year, which is insane, seeing the fact that I grew up watching this show. Yikes! And I guess with that said, folks, we might as well head back to the music once again, and when we return, we'll be back with more of that streetlight delight as the Tuesday Night Special rolls on right after this. So don't go watching reruns of Seinfeld just yet, folks, and stay tuned. We're back with the Insomniatic show that celebrates another show that's old enough to drive, only known as the Tuesday Night Special. And Carl and the Maestro said, why didn't you say your favorite character was Gary, a part of SpongeBob SquarePants? I mean, he's cool and all. I mean, the poetry slam he pulled off was pretty cool, but at the same time, really was a fan of the karate of Sandy during that show. Beautiful work of art. And speaking of beautiful works of art, folks, I think it's time for us to christen this spring solstice with some cool art and other things, so part of the art wall, sound wall, and screenshots and whatnots, all from the world of Indy Cade, for a very sensual springtime edition of the Indy Cade Triple S Deluxe. And we kick things off with the, and wait for it, with the art wall. And the art wall picture that we have up for this week comes from the developers Generic Lake Monster, nice developer name by the way, with their set game of Quarterstaff. And the screenshot or artwork that they provided for this week shows our hero with the quarterstaff trying to take on some forest monsters overlooking a giant oversized tree with faces in it, and a couple of branches, and looks like some incantations on the ground as well too. And over in the upper right hand corner, what appears to be some form of rose garden. Yikes! Yikes! And this automatically reminds me of a combination of Shinobi with a little hit of Lord of the Rings if it was in 2D. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you can learn some form of magical spells to take out those things. Cause I got a feeling you're gonna need it, especially against that giant tree monster. That or a spell of fire to burn it. And Carl and Michael said that wouldn't work in that range. Okay? And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over towards the sound wall. And the sound we have up for this week comes from none other than Nelwar with their said sound of Bright City Life from the video game of Knuckle Sandwich. And when I close my eyes while listening into this sound, it automatically reminds me of the late night show we used to host called Street Sweepers. And if you're wondering at home, yes, it did involve us riding around with a street sweeper throughout the entirety of the night as he cleaned the streets, and asking him a whole bunch of questions while listening to jazz music. And yeah, live jazz music, because we had him hitch an actual trailer with jazz musicians on the back of it. And let's just say it did not end well, because all of the stuff from the street kept getting blown into their face. Hence the reason why in the world now I realize why they say there's a 25 to 50 feet range you're supposed to keep away from those things. Never listen to that. Well, at least while I'm in the car or something like that. And Carl and Michael said we should have put him in a cage. Yeah, that would have worked. Why didn't you say that earlier? Apparently they said they didn't have any idea I was trying to go for something like that. But besides my ideas going down the drain, so to speak, for late night shows, the next game that we have up for the sound wall is none other than from the developers Michael Overton Brown with their said game of Perfect World. And the said screenshot that they provided for this week shows, well, a giant oversized mechanical spider of sorts overlooking a giant oversized blue sky with a whole bunch of pillars, ants, and you holding on to what appears to be a bottle to water the plants, and a whole bunch of ants just looking onward as you see the world health starting to diminish, and you with $1,000 in hand. And this automatically reminds me of the Adult Swim game of Candy Coated Massacre, bar none. Now, here's hoping in the near future, just like that game, that you can get some special powers from using that said water can. And Carl and Michael said, what do you think this is, Squirt the Daisies? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll add that in too, and here's hoping you can get powers to try to save the planet like Captain Planet. You know, minus the rings. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over to those indie itch games from the itch.io page to scratch that indie itch you've got at home. And the first game we have up comes from Wong Zhang with their said game of Test. From the creators Master Crafted Games with their said game of Intergalactic Way Station. Mac Game Studios with their said game of Can You Make It to the Top? From 2T Chill, nice name by the way, with their said game of Chill Taggers. Soccer Keeper J with their said game of Lucky Casino. And finally, last but not least, from the creator Mario Dot with their said game of Codebreaker. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any of those cool indie games to scratch that indie itch you've got at home for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the itch.io page, only known as itch.io, under the games section to check out all of those cool games for yourselves. And trust me, you'll be there for a while, because I got a million of them. I really do. And if you also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games, a part of the Art Wall, Sound Wall, Screenshot Saturday Showcase, or even have your games featured over there as well, then you can go ahead and head on over to the IndieCade.tumblr page of one man only known as IndieCade.tumblr.com, or head on over to their Facebook page known as IndieCade, or even their Twitter, Flickr, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, SoundCloud, do believe, as well as their Steam Machine page and website that are all named the same, but it's just that's critically acclaimed, only known as, you guessed it folks, IndieCade. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these Diamonds and Rough as we try to turn your Tuesday night into a Friday night. Only here, right here, on the Tuesday Night Special. So don't go watching infomercials just yet, folks, and stay tuned. right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And apparently, according to Carl the Maestro, other than Gary, their other favorite character was Plankton, and is planning on seeing a Plankton film in the future. All right, I'll probably mention it in a part of the show. It should be big. And speaking of big things, a part of this show, making his way into Music Village headquarters with the biggest and ridiculous outfit I've seen him wear to date, none other than Dan the Weatherman Stu, here to deliver the 5-day weather forecast for this week. That or try to nest in that robin's nest outside of Music Village headquarters with that outfit you're wearing. The microphone is all yours, and what are you doing wearing that outfit? You know, I should just lead with that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, it's your boy from Chicago, Illinois, Dad, what a man still here to begin a 5-day weather forecast for this week. What are you talking about, DJ Smokey? I'm wearing this outfit to celebrate the spring solstice. In style. In style? What style? The style of a bird? Why? You know what? I think this is the first year you actually dressed up as a bird, but I'm not even going to ask if that outfit is functional. Carla the Maestro over in the corner showed me the picture of the wingspan, and I highly advise them not to do that here at Music Village headquarters, because they'll knock down a whole bunch of CDs, lights, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I'll have to clean up. So instead of doing that, Dan the Weatherman Stu, please do me a favor. Please, just one little favor. Do the weather. Go do the weather. Jeez. Every night with this guy. Now wearing a bird outfit like he's a creature. All right. So for tonight, that's right, Tuesday night, it's going to be a low of 34. Cloudy skies all around with winds going north, west-north at 3 miles per hour. That's northwest. Northwest. And on Wednesday, another cloudy day for you, because it's going to be a high of 49, low of 28. Partly cloudy skies with winds going west, northwest at 14 miles per hour. And on Thursday, an actual sunny day, because it's going to be a high of 53, low of 37. Sunny skies all around with winds going west, northwest at 11 miles per hour. And on Friday, start of the warm weekend, Puebla, because it's going to be a high of 65, low of 50 degrees. Partly cloudy skies with winds going west at 8 miles per hour. And on Saturday, here comes the 80s, because it's going to be a high of 80 degrees, low of 52. Partly cloudy skies with winds going west, southwest at 15 miles per hour. And on Sunday, not a sunny day at all, because it's going to be a high of 58, low of 52. Morning showers at 36%, with winds going south, southeast at 10 miles per hour. And now you know, cause I've gotta go, because I am dead, what a man's doing, I am through for the weather broadcast for this week. And now back to the man who's holding my hummingbird helmet in his hand, DJ Smokey for the Tuesday Night Special. Yeah. I don't know who told you or who sold you that this was a great idea to bring that ridiculous outfit in here, but at the same time, you know, Dan the Weatherman Stu, maybe you should use that to go and fly home. I guess that'll be a better option for you other than driving in that car that you poked a hole in one of the tires for. Wait a minute, DJ Smokey, I didn't poke a hole in the tire, I just went to check the pressure. Yeah, and while you were checking the pressure, you poked a hole in your tire, stupid. Oh, man. And Carl and the Maestro is trying to help you right now by changing the tire, but I need them back in here for the ones and twos. So I guess we'll help you out in a minute, and good luck. I don't need luck, DJ Smokey. I need AAA. Dan the Waterman Stew out. Catch you around. Hey, Dan the Waterman Stew, before you leave, take off that helmet. You're going to put a hole in it. Okay, he's gone, but luckily he took that helmet off because he was going to put a hole right directly through that new door, and I would have been angry. Really angry. But to subside my anger at home, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Indy Report right after this. So don't go watching infomercials just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, all you Streetlight Crusaders, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And if you're wondering at home, yeah, Carla the Maestro was able to help Dan the Weatherman Stu get some form of AAA service in the middle of the night, but at the same time was wondering how in the world the tire burst in the first place, and for him to show the people at AAA what happened, and for him to bust out the tire of the car that tried to help them out. So yeah, they're all stranded out there just staring at each other in anger for me to try to take them back to where they need to go. Perfect. Perfect. But besides me being some form of carpool service in the middle of the night, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy Report, which is me giving you guys 2 news stories followed up by local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And in our first news story, and an exciting news from the world of WWE, because now it's been announced a part of the Hall of Fame class of 2025, none other than the tag team of Earthquake and Typhoon, the Natural Disasters. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the one-time WWF Tag Team Champions who beat out Money Inc. for those titles is now officially going to be a part of the Hall of Fame. And Carl and Michael asked me, am I going to mention the fact that one of them was the Shockmaster? No, that doesn't need to be brought up until the Hall of Fame itself. But congratulations to 2 of the big men of the tag team division that definitely proved that you can be agile and big. Yeah, very inspirational tag team. And not to mention, the move to Tsunami actually came from Typhoon, if I do say so myself. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the reaction of the Natural Disasters being inducted into the Hall of Fame for this year, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as WWE to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less video game character debut news, for you fans out there wondering who's going to be the next character from My Hero Ultra Rumble for Season 10, it looks like it's going to be none other than Hitoshi Shinoso. Or Hitoshi Shinoso? You know what? We'll go with the second one just in case. The character that can control people, stun them, and cause a lot of havoc on the battlefield. But from my perspective of someone who never truly got a chance to see past the first season, this guy just reminds me of Ino from the world of Naruto. Yeah, very similar, with the exception that they don't use wave powers to try to control their minds. Or do they? Well, either way you look at it, folks, this character currently now available a part of Season 10, and at the same time, crossplay will be available and implemented a part of Season 10 so you can play with all your friends from all consoles from around the world. Which means that you're gonna have to start trying to reserve your name now before they get taken away from you, is what they announced. Which I got a feeling I'm gonna have to do after this show is over. But if you guys want to go ahead and check out all of the cool things that will be coming your way through this next upcoming season, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as My Hero You Are to check it out for yourselves. And with that said, folks, we now make our way on over towards the concert information. And we kick things off with Wednesday, March 26th. And the first band we have up is Chad Hoffman, who's going to be performing at the Parker's Grill and Tavern in Avon Lake, Ohio, at 5:30 p.m. Trevor Finley, who's going to be performing at the Bootleggers Inn in Nashville, Tennessee, at 6 p.m. Rock Island, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas, at 6 p.m. You can also see John Starr, nice band name, who's going to be performing at the Bayside Restaurant in Newport Beach, California, at 6 p.m. PT Gazelle and the Side Effects is all going to be performing at the Rudy's Jazz Room in Nashville, Tennessee, at 6 p.m. Nigel Mack is going to be performing at the Little Bar Restaurant in Goodland, Florida, at 7 p.m. Andrew Dunn is going to be performing at the Godfrey Daniels in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, at 7 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Wednesday night, you can see Russell Howard with Vince Harper, who's going to be performing at the Coach House in Concert Hall in San Juan Capistrano, California, at 8 p.m. And on Thursday, March 27th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. The C4 Band is going to be performing at the Bobby's Idle Hour Tavern in Nashville, Tennessee, at 12:30 p.m. Christine with Gypsy Fuzz is both going to be performing at the Lansdowne Folk Club in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania, at 6:30 p.m. And Carlin Maestro wanted me to say that also performing alongside with him is going to be Tread Fuhrer. Oh, nice band. Or not bad. But ballpark errors aside, folks, next band we have up is Sad in the Ages, alongside with the Buckshot Princess. Nice band names, who's all going to be performing at the Sticky's Rock and Roll Chicken Shack in Little Rock, Arkansas, at 6:30 p.m. Buck Yeager is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas, at 7 p.m. Russell Howard is going to be performing at the Palace of Fine Arts Theater in San Francisco, California, at 7:30 p.m. Young Dubliners is going to be performing at the Emlyn Theater in Merrimack, New York, at 7:30 p.m. Randy Palmer with the Berkland Recording Arts Showcase is all going to be performing at the McDonald's Monkey Duck in Houston, Texas, at 7:30 p.m. Anti-Ghost with Inward Hill and Looter is all going to be performing at the Irving Theater in Indianapolis, Indiana, at 8 p.m. Patrice Pike is going to be performing at the Saxton Pub in Austin, Texas, at 8 p.m. the C4 Band. It's going to be performing at the Millennium Maxwell House Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee at 9 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Thursday night, you can see the Rob Gracia Band, who's going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 9 p.m. And on Tuesday, April 1st, are you serious? For Tuesday for next week, which happens to be April Fool's Day, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. Halamero is going to be performing at the Max Restaurant Nightclub in Eugene, Oregon at 5 p.m. Pierce Pettis is going to be performing at the Shallow Hill Music in Denver, Colorado at 5:30 p.m. Samsara is going to be performing at the Bill's Bar in Boston, Massachusetts at 6 p.m. Kelly Neff is going to be performing at the Real Macaw in Naples, Florida at 6 p.m. Shelly King with Carolyn Wonderland is going to be performing at the Continental Club in Austin, Texas at 6 p.m. Nate Nielsen Acoustic is going to be performing at the Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. And Elisa Kirby is going to be performing at the Keystone Corner in Baltimore, Maryland at 7 p.m. Marty Seymour is going to be performing at the Froggies in Virginia Beach, Virginia at 7 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Tuesday for next week and all the bands we're going to mention for this week and for this month, for this show at least, you could see Stephanie Morton with Mark Noble and Bobby Ray, who's all going to be performing at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage, Tennessee at 8 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, listen to a couple of their cool tunes too. Trust me, they're worth the listen. And like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into the music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for the Tuesday Night Special for this week, right after this. So don't head downstairs for that pre or post midnight snack just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, all you Streetlight Crusaders, seeing the fact that we ran fresh out of Streetlight Crusading oil and it's just about that time for us to get out of here to get some more for next week's show, we might as well bring the Tuesday Night Special for this week and for this month to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that Streetlight delight that we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered. Because you can catch the show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and Live 365 pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Tuesday Night Special 532. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, the episode of the Krusty Krab Pizza, they've seen 532 times. I believe you on that. I really do. It's a good episode. And if you guys want to figure out what the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for the remaining days of this month of madness heading directly into a month of fools, like a show that is funny and hard to resist, no matter what time of the night they watch it. Then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the Streetlight Crusaders out there for listening in to a very special springtime month-ending edition of the Tuesday Night Special. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like SpongeBob singing about the Krusty Krab pizza. And the PR department's already got the boat hat on, and they know where I'm going with this one. So they said, whenever you're ready. Good. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets featured during a cool cartoon that can stand the test of time. Even though Carl and the My Show said we said it before, we'll say it again. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. And speaking of people's music that we believe in to be a part of a show that will stand the test of time in the future, we would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than Jason Klug, with his said song, A Pet the Dog, that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. And of course, the man you're listening to right now behind our voice, none other than Tekno AXE, with his said song, A Friday Funk, that's currently bringing us out for this week's edition of the Tuesday Night Special. And like always, Tekno AXE and Jason Klug, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but not least, we would like to thank you, the independent artists out there of the video game variety, for bringing us all those sweet video game hits and clips we had a chance to mention during this week's show and for this month for this show. And like always, keep up the great work. And we can't wait to see what you guys got coming down the tubes next, because you never know what show might come up to follow alongside with it. Hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there, how we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for you up-all-nighters, late-night drivers, insomniatic TV watchers, gamers, grapplers, and especially you Streetlight Crusaders celebrating the first Tuesday night of spring, and at the same time giving a fond farewell and salute to this month of madness, saying, the Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza, for you and me. Thought I couldn't do it, didn't you? Thought I couldn't do it, but I did. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for another foolhardy show edition of the Tuesday Night Special. But until then, go get some sleep and good night, everybody.